I would just go to my boss's boss.
Please respond to this like an entitled, mediocre white man.
All I said was, oh, no thank you.
I was making about 87K as a base salary, and I just decided, you know what, I want to make 180K base salary.
Hi, dolls. Today we're looking at some of the most unhinged salary negotiation tactics that actually worked. These women negotiated more money in ways that sound almost ridiculous, and one of them got a higher salary without saying a single word about why she deserved it. I'll tell you exactly what she did. And these tactics aren't just for negotiating a new job. They can be used to increase your pay in a job you already have. The further we get into this video, the more useful and practical these get. As always, all creators are linked below. Let's get into it.
Whenever my ex needed a new job, she would register a bunch of fake LLCs with the state. These new companies would then list a bunch of jobs on Indeed with high salaries for the job title. Then she would apply for a real job at a real company, say director of marketing. When it came time to negotiate a salary, she would use her fake company, write an offer letter to herself for 30 grand more than the other company was offering, and then ask them if they could match it.
Instead of having the conversation, she found a way to use a prop as evidence, instead of an explanation. She put herself in a position of power without ever having to directly negotiate.
Ask for whatever salary you want. Literally ask for whatever salary you want. I don't get it. Like, the reason that I was able to increase my salary so quickly was because I just thought that I should be making double what I was making. I was making about 87K as a base salary, and I just decided, you know what, I want to make 180K base salary. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. I just decided I'm worth 180K. I'm so smart and I've struggled for too long and I've learned so much. I'm worth it. I had one interviewer and she asked what I wanted and I had to try to say that number with a straight face. And I was like, yeah, I would definitely need 180K. And she said, oh yeah, that's within budget. It's whatever you think you're worth, you're worth. So why not just like say you're worth more?
Companies don't tell you what their budget actually is. Lowball yourself or play it safe, and you'll never find out how much they were willing to give you. The worst thing that can happen is a no, and a no doesn't automatically mean they're rescinding the offer. It's just a conversation, not an ultimatum.
Unhinged things I done to get a pay rise. Went through a 3-stage interview process with a Tier 1 investment bank, got the job, handed in notice, then instead leveraged a £13,000 pay rise and stayed at the former company.
Once again, using a prop as a way to gain leverage, similar to the first video. This time, though, it was real. She went through the whole process because she wanted a Tier 1 name, a reputable company behind her. More work than the first one, but it gave her even more leverage.
While I was working as a contractor, I listened intently to the pain points in the organization, and I made myself a valuable asset to make sure I was contributing to resolving those pain points. So a month or two after they said they weren't hiring contractors to be FTEs, I walked in and said, this is my 2 weeks notice. Everybody was like, oh my God, what? What do you mean? I was like, yeah, this is my 2 weeks. I knew what I was doing. I was placing myself in a position of power. I already did all my work to make sure I was an integral part of the organization. And if I left, things would be in shambles. I had too many responsibilities. Of course, I made sure I had job offers lined up just in case, and that's part of the being bold. But let's get back to the position of power. 2 days later, they made me a full-time job offer. Nobody else, just me. And I was the only contractor to be converted over to an FTE during a hiring freeze. When you listen intently, you're able to gain leverage and place yourself in a position of power. This doesn't have to just work with work. It literally can work with anything.
It truly is a shame that it's all about power and power dynamics, but that's what it is. Every one of these women puts herself in a position of power first, either through audacity or through a prop like we just saw. None of them are waiting to be recognized. There's a strategy running underneath each one, an actual objective. 4 clips in now, and every single one did this before she ever asked for anything. And if you're realizing that you probably need to get better at asking for what you want, I made the Resourced Woman practice for exactly that. It's a 7-day practice designed to help you actually make the decisions that make your value impossible to miss. To you and to everyone deciding what you're worth. It's linked in the description. Anyway, let's keep going.
I've done a few unhinged things in my career, and one of them is how I negotiate raises and promotions. Every career coach is going to tell you that you should make a list of all your achievements, numbers, your outputs, reviews, all that kind of thing, and put it together and bring it in this perfect package for your boss to explain why you deserve a raise or a promotion. I personally have never done that. How I've gotten raises, promotions is, and I wouldn't advise you to maybe do it in this job market, but I would just go to my boss's boss, because that's usually the person who has control. And I just say, hey, I would really like XYZ, whether it's a raise, promotion, whatever. You would like a raise, blah, blah, blah. Or I just don't think it makes sense for me to be here anymore. And then I just stare at them. And usually they'll be like, oh, well, I don't know if I can do that. Or I have to check with this person, get it approved. Plain and simple, be like, this is what I want. If I don't have this, in a nice way, I walk. And I would. Then within usually a week or two, I get the raise or the promotion or whatever it is I asked for. One time it took a few months and then they just gave it to me out of nowhere. But if they tell you no, or hey, maybe like quarters down the line or whatever else, if it's really important to you and you know that you're good and you're a high performer, somebody else will give it to you. Just go somewhere else. Your main job is to look out for yourself. People should know you're good at your job well before you go ask for a raise. And if you have to sit there and prove it to them, then you do not have the upper hand.
I absolutely do not recommend doing this, just like she basically said herself. It's a different kind of audacity than simply asking for a number, and it requires a real backup plan behind it. But underneath it, it's the same principle. Putting yourself in a position of power, having the upper hand, and making your value so obvious that they already know you know it.
I received a job offer from an employer for 25% below market rate, and I really wanted to work for that company. I had another offer, but it was far less crappier. It was for a CRO. You already know how I feel about CROs. Now, when the employer I really wanted to work for came to me with their offer and it was so below the market rate, all I said was, oh, no, thank you. Didn't even make an option for negotiation. You see, that's bold. Because if the person who was offering me the job got agitated by my boldness or just simply didn't have the budget to offer me what I wanted, I would have been SOL and left with a CRO offer. Ultimately, I got the job I wanted. High risk, high reward.
She created an environment where it was almost weird for them to even offer her that. No thank you and nothing else. She's not grateful for scraps, and she doesn't even have to say it directly. The silence says it. And options put you in a position of power, even when, like the first video, they're not entirely real.
Ladies, use ChatGPT. Use it. Use it. I was just recently up for a promotion at my work, and they were trying to lowball me with my raise. I plugged in their offer letter, which was only a 7.2% raise for a promotion. Plugged in their offer letter into ChatGPT and gave it the instructions of, please respond to this like an entitled, mediocre white man. And yeah, that got me a 16% raise.
These companies have the money. Accept the lowball and never try, and you'll never know what they actually had. There is always room to negotiate.
Talk to your friends about money. At my second job at BuzzFeed, I had a girlfriend at work, and it was right before my end of year review. I'm like, okay, Allison, come with me to the bathroom. So I drag her into the bathroom. I make her go into the big handicap stall with me, and I'm like, hey, Allison, tell me how much money you make. And she goes, what? And I'm like, just tell me. I'm about to go in for my end of year review, and I want to ask for more money, but I don't know what's realistic. She tells me what she makes, and she's like, but you didn't hear that from me. And I'm like, heard, understand. I go into my end of year review, and I say, look at all of these things that I've accomplished. A raise of XYZ, I said how much she makes, would be commensurate because she was making more than me at the time. She was older than me, had more experience. I end up getting this raise. I'm like, thank you so much. I leave. I'm like, Allison, we need to go to the bathroom. I drag her into the bathroom. We go into the handicap stall. I'm like, I just want to let you know, they're giving me that. I now make the same amount that you make, but you're 5 years older than me. So just so you know, you didn't hear it from me. She goes in for her end of year review, and now she's asking for more money because she knows that I'm making what she's making. She gets it. She comes back to the desk. She goes, Vivian, I think we need to go to the bathroom. We've spent the entire day now in this handicap stall. We go to the bathroom. And she goes, unbelievably, they just gave me a raise of this. I'm like, great. That's great information for me to have, because guess what I'm asking for next year? So I beg you, in your 20s, talk to your friends about money.
Pretty unhinged stuff when I was in corporate, but I think one of the most unhinged things that I did to get promoted faster was when me and my really close coworker in meetings, we used to hype each other up. So like if I was presenting, we would be in like, oh my gosh, such an amazing presentation. And, you know, after that, everyone kind of trickles in after. And I think it's really good to have like your hype person, especially if they're on the same team, or maybe they're on a sister team. So maybe you work in marketing, they're on the product team, or they're on the sales team and they're hyping you up. This is really, really helpful because it makes you look good to your manager and like the other people on the team, and in general just goes down to helping you when it comes time for promotion or like end of year performance reviews. Because at the end of the day, corporate America is a game and it's all about perception and how you're perceived. So if you're perceived as, wow, you're this contributor, you're adding value, and of course like the compliments from your peers should be legit, but obviously as a hype person, you have to be doing good work for them to like advocate for you because it's still their reputation. But
Optics matter. Doing the work and then sitting in the corner waiting to be noticed does not work. That's why the hardest working person in the room isn't always the one who gets the most credit. Doing the work and being seen doing it are two different jobs.
When you receive a job offer, there is only one thing to say. There is only one right response, and that is you call the recruiter like an adult and say, thank you so much for the offer. I'm very excited to get started. Is this negotiable? They will either say one of two things. They might say, well, no, I'm sorry. You got our very best offer. And if you are ready and really want this job and everything else looks really good to you, you can say, thank you so much, I accept. Then you're going to talk about orientation and start date and paperwork and all that good stuff. Or if you say, is this negotiable? They'll say, well, sure. What were you thinking? Then you have to be prepared for this conversation. You can't say something like, well, I was hoping to be somewhere near 80. No, you have to give them a number. Well, I need my salary to be at 80 and I need 20 PTO days. And then the recruiter's going to say, all right, let me call the CFO, run it up the corporate flagpole, and I'll call you back tomorrow. Okay, great. Now, they might call you back tomorrow and say, you know, we couldn't get you right to 80, but I got you to 78.5, and I can't get you to 20 days PTO because of our salary and PTO bands, but I could get you a few more PTO days. How does that sound to you? And then you have to accept. This is not a hostage negotiation. You can't then start going back and forth. You've asked for what you wanted, they gave you a counter, and now you either have to accept or decline. It's that simple. Don't overcomplicate this.
If you negotiate your salary or you're trying to negotiate your salary and them people say, no, we don't got it in the budget, even if you follow exactly what he said, because that was great advice. Them people can give you something, and I'm finna show you something that the mentor gave me that I only give my best friends and my mentees. If companies don't want to give me the money I'm asking for, I'm finna get something I want. My favorite things I've negotiated, better job title, that's on the list. Fridays off, half days on Thursdays and Fridays. I've negotiated bonuses. I've negotiated commissions. My fault. My thing is, I feel like if y'all are nervous about this type of stuff and it does kind of scare you, the thing to remember is that companies are going to either make their money or save money because they've employed you. That's just the way it works. So the least that you can do, and this is my mindset, is make sure that you're paid enough to where you can actually have the things that you want and need. Because a lot of times, if you're early in your career or you're doing an internship, you might be getting underpaid.
If salary really won't move, there's still something to leave with. Title, PTO, a bonus. Nobody's putting the tools down just because one number's fixed.
The thing about salary negotiation is that whoever speaks first loses. When they ask, what are your salary expectations? If you actually say your salary expectations, you've already lost. And that's exactly what they want you to do, because now they know the absolute bare minimum price that they can get you for. But what if you say $70,000 and their budget was $120,000? You've just lost $50,000 by saying one simple sentence. No matter how hard you try, you're always going to either shoot too high or too low accidentally. You're most likely not going to hit their actual budget. I'll show you. They're going to ask, what are your salary expectations? And then stop, zip it. Do not say a single number. You're going to say, I'd love to learn more about the role and meet with more members of the team to better assess the market value, but I'd love to hear your budget if you have one. Stop. In negotiations, silence is golden. You're going to use that silence for your advantage and just sit in it. Let it be awkward and feel that silence. Because 9 times out of 10, they're just going to tell you their budget, and then you know what their budget is, and you say, yes, that aligns, and move forward without underselling yourself.
Here is my favorite salary negotiation hack that everyone should use. So we know most states now have pay transparency, which means you have to show a salary range for every single job. So I'll give you an example of one of the questions that I always encourage my clients to ask. Let's say the salary range is from $100,000 to $150,000. One of the questions that I would ask in the interview process is, can you tell me what skills and experiences separate the $100,000 candidate versus the $150,000 candidate? That way, later in the negotiation process, you can use their literal words to justify why you deserve more money. You can literally craft your argument around the points that they've already given you. So if they say the candidate that we would pay $150,000 to has 5 years of experience, has managed XYZ project, and has extensive experience mastering XYZ skills, you can literally then flip it on its head and say, well, I have 5 years of experience, I've led XYZ projects, and I've done these things. It's genius, and I've seen it work time and time again.
When someone asks you your salary expectations, stop saying between 70 and 80K. Stop that range stuff. Because saying a range, they will offer you the bottom end and save the rest of their budget. And even worse, if someone asks you what you're looking for and you say 100K, and then they say, what's your minimum? 100K. Do not say a lower number, because again, they will give you that. And if they look at you and they say, oh, because you said the same number, and they say, oh, that's a bit high, we're not sure if that's in your budget, then I want you to reply and say, I totally appreciate that, but with the scope of the role and the responsibilities and what I know I'll bring to your team, that's what I would be expecting. But I'm happy to have a conversation so we can explore options, because obviously, depending on the benefits package, there might be opportunity for more negotiation. And if you really like the role and you want to explore like negotiations, because there's some other reasons why you might take a lower salary. Like it might be close to your kid's school. It might be that you start later so you'll have time to do things in the morning. There may be reasons why you are happy to take slightly lower. What I want you to then think about saying is, listen, I'm really interested in this role. I really think I'll be an asset because... enter why you think you'll be an asset. So depending on the benefits package attached to the salary, whether that's annual leave, dividends, whatever it is, you can say, I'm happy to have more discussions and explore it further and look into maybe a slightly lower salary. Okay? But we are not saying ranges, and we are not giving lower minimums than we actually want. This is how you shortchange yourself and let these companies play with your pockets.
If you've tried to negotiate a raise and you've gotten shut down, there's two questions that you can ask your boss. One is to ask, would you be opposed if I asked you the same question in 6 months? Would that bother you? The second one that you can ask, what would I have to do today to deem this raise appropriate? You want to build an argument for why you should have a raise. And so that means that you need to put together the evidence. Which means you got to go online, you got to go to payscale or salary.com, you got to do an analysis of your position, years of experience, the job, the state, all of that. You've got to present that argument to them. So you have to use logic to present it to your boss. You want to talk about what you came in to do and what the job description was, what it is now. So what is the discrepancy there? The second discrepancy is you want to talk about years of experience. Oftentimes, the more years of experience someone has, the more skills they have, the more they are paid. But you want to talk about the fact that you have more skills with less years of experience, so how much faster you're growing and the rate that you'd be able to take on more. And so there's two places you want to look at and you want to present to your boss, here's why I should have a raise, because you're saving money because of how much I grow, how much experience I've acquired in the time I've been here, and how many more responsibilities I'm doing than I was actually even brought in to do.
She used the same quantifying point the other video mentioned, letting the company define the standards themselves, and then using their own words to get what you want. And she doesn't leave defeated. She leaves with information. I also like how she frames growth, not just as years of experience, but as how much faster she's growing than that experience would normally suggest. That's its own kind of value, and it's worth saying out loud.
When you are in an interview and the interviewer is asking you, what is your salary expectation? You need to say the number that you desire and nothing else. The first person who speaks loses. Majority of the power that you will ever hold as an employee is in that moment. And the power of silence does a few things. One, it allows the person to process what you just said. Two, it gives the other person a chance to say something or to respond. And lastly, it shows that you have agency. It shows that you are not afraid of silence. Oftentimes we feel like we have to fill the silence. We get awkward by it, but it shows that we have agency. And that is one of the most important parts of an interview, but just in general, because oftentimes when we hesitate and we feel like we need to over explain, it shows that we really aren't confident about what we are talking about. And you do not want to do that in an interview.
A position of leverage, being bold, being comfortable with silence, quantifying everything, getting the company to speak first, and leaving with something rather than just accepting the first offer. Asking doesn't mean they're going to rescind the offer. It's a conversation, 16 stories, 16 different approaches, but every single one of them built some kind of leverage before asking for anything. And I think that's the actual mistake most of us make. We ask from fear instead of leverage. If this video made you realize you need to get better at asking for what you want, charging for your work, or actually acting on the things you already know you need to change, check out the Resourced Woman Practice. It's a 7-day practice designed to help you stop waiting until you're ready and actually move, ask, leave, charge, and build more leverage in your life and work. It's linked in the description below.